Hey guys, this is Scott with CableFi, and in today's tutorial I'd like to give you a quick start on getting started. So here we're at the login screen. Go ahead and log in here real quick. And the first thing you're presented with is your calendar. Now, first things first, after you sign up, create an account, you're going to want to create your users. Alright, and this can be your admin, your techs, your site leads, your project managers. You're going to want to get everybody created so when you start creating projects you can assign the correct people. So in order to do that, now you can start off with creating your technicians first. And typically what we tell our customers is to try to keep it simple and to use maybe the employee number for username, and then for your password use your employee's cell phone number. This is usually really easy for them to remember, especially when you have technicians. They may not have their own company email address, and we all know passwords can be hard to remember sometimes. So what we'll do is I'll create a quick user here, and we'll just call this super user. And you can put an email address if you have one. Now the phone number is very important because when you assign tasks, punch list items, and you assign technicians to a project, it's going to send them an SMS message. This also goes for repair technicians in testing as well. So we'll just go ahead and create an easy password. And down below you can select the role for this user. Now each user on the system has a specific user role authority. Now your techs, team leads, and site leads have limited viewability on the system. Their viewing is going to be limited to projects that you have assigned them to. They will not have any ability to use back office features like reporting and Pathfinder and things like that. So what we'll do is we'll just create a site lead here. You can also fill in their address and pay rate, their airport, and their skills and certifications, things like that. Now under skills and certifications, you'll have to go into the form builder under settings to set that up right here. It's a pretty simple process. Now by default in ours we have different skills like grounding and bonding, fiber pulling, fiber splicing. You create a skill name, and then you create whether it's a beginner, intermediate, or expert level. And then for certifications you create a certification and then click add, and that'll show down here below. Now for the second thing you're going to want to do is create a project. So to do that, you go to your projects menu in jobs, or you can go to schedule. You can create a project name. So let's just say this is going to be test 52, and you can select the dates that you are planning on working for this project. And what we'll do is we'll create new job. And in here, you can add a customer, work order, number, PO number, add the project manager, site lead, and delivery partner. Now, for customer and delivery partner, you'll have to go into the settings menu, and you'll have to send an invite to your customer or delivery partner. Now, your customers, when you send them an invite, they will get an invite to create an account, and then whenever you put them on as a customer on a project, it'll send them an invite for the dashboard that goes along with that project. The same thing happens with delivery partners. So for us, a delivery partner is typically a subcontractor that you're going to sub work out to. But you want to keep them on CableFi so that you have all of the reporting, all of the status updates, and you know exactly where your project is, and you can keep all your communication in one place. So for this one, I won't fill out any of these fields. I'll just set this to in progress. Now, in order for technicians to see a project, they have to have an in progress status. So if they want to clock in and out of a project, it has to be in progress. And if they want to be able to make any changes to a project, it has to be in progress as well. Now you can also upload your blueprints here. Now let's see, we've got demo docs. I'll upload a sample print. Now you have your operating days selected here. Now you can also add the time that you want to start for each day. And we know this can be kind of cumbersome, but a lot of times companies have operating hours that are not standard across every weekday. So we are looking to add by the day, so Monday through Friday, that sort of thing. So you can add your start time and end time per day. You can create a site contact, and then we can also add the address for your project, and it'll auto fill in. You have an area to fill in any lodging information and any project notes here. So let's just go ahead and create this job. Alright, so we can see here we now have another project on our calendar that's called Test 52. We can click on this and then click on Details. And now we can add technicians. Now you can add technicians on the previous step as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some users here. Let's see. Well, let's add super user. And now we can click Update. Now there's a second step to this, to where after you've finalized your project and maybe you've won the bid or you've gotten official start and end dates, you can then send an SMS message to your technicians. And what this does is it sends them a text message saying, hey, you've been assigned to a project. There it is, it just came in. And they can either accept or decline that job. Alright, so it's going to give them all the relevant information like project name, start date, and who the project manager of record is. So once that happens, give me the check marks next to the technicians will go green when they accept the job. Now if they stay red, that means they have not accepted the job. Now nothing will happen if they don't accept the job, but if you want that visibility, it is there. So you can make it mandatory that they log in and accept the project. Or the third thing that you're going to want to do is let's go and show this project. And we can see we don't have any information here. It says, looks like there are no lines for this job. Upload a line run. Well, there's a couple ways that you can do this. And the primary thing you're going to want to do is go to Cable Distribution in your submenu. And this is where you're going to create all of your cable distribution locations like MDF, IDF, etc. So here we can go ahead and create an IDF. We'll call this 01. Click Add. Alright, and if you're on a fresh installation, you may need to create cable states first. And to do that, you would click this green plus sign. You'll create a new list. Let's just call this Test List 01. And here is where you can create your states. Now, for example, we say, look, pulled dropped, dressed, and terminated are your primary states. Now, you can add states like EMT installed. So if you have cable runs that require EMT to be installed, maybe you want to track whether your technicians have installed that yet. You can do that here. So all states start off as red. So what I like to do is I'll just give them colors all the way through the list. And this makes it easy to track when you're looking at view plan. All right, now there is another feature to this. So we have individual cable states here on the right. And by default, if these are all unselected, that means every cable that you add to the platform for this particular project will get all 4 of these states. Now, we can make each state individual. And this is going to change in the next latest version. It's actually going to be reversed, and this is going to say default state. So you'll have to select all the default states you want for your cable numbers, and then anything unchecked will be a state that you have to manually assign. So for this example, all the unchecked are going to be default states, and the checked here is going to be an individual state. So what we'll do is we'll click Save. All right, and we can also add custom fields. So let's say we want to track cable color, and we want to make this available option. Then click the green plus sign. All right, now all of these columns are rearrangeable, so we can drag and drop. These columns here, area through notes, these are all default. And if you don't want these, you can just unselect them. So let's say we don't want notes and we don't want area, but we want device and switch port. We can keep those. And then click Save, Reorder Column. Now, if we go back to our line run summary, we don't have any cables yet, but now we have a new location called IDF01. Now we drop it down, we don't have any cables. Now you can go in here, click the plus sign, and now we can add our cable numbers. This is a manual way to do it, so I'm going to run it through. I'm going to run you through this here. Let's say 1-101. Now you can add an area. Let's say this is going to be office, device, let's just say computer, and for cable color, let's say white. And you can also add, what switch port in your cabinet or rack you want this to be plugged into, and then whatever nodes pertain to this cable as well, if that's what you want to include. Now you can also assign users to specific cable numbers to create a task. Now for this demonstration, we are just going to fill in this information and then click Create Line. And now we have one cable that has pulled, dressed, dropped, terminated, tested. And that is because I didn't assign the list that I created. That's a default state. So we want test list 01. So let's go ahead and apply those changes. Let's go back to our line run summary. And now we can see we have pulled, dressed, or pulled, dropped, dressed, and terminated. Now, you can see terminated does not have a no, and that is because we selected it as an individual cable state. Alright, so when we go into this cable number here, we can select that this state is required. Alright, terminated is required. Now update the line, click back, and now we can see we have a no there. So if you have 10 or 12 cables, or however many more you can select which cables have specific states. Now, there is a bulk way to do this, and you can select all the cable numbers in your list that you want to have an individual state. Click Options, and then click Required States. So we want terminated to be a required state. Click Save, and terminated will become a required state. Now, in details, for each location, your technicians can tell you whether the location has been installed, whether the power is installed and active. You can define how many EMT risers are requested for this installation, and then your technicians can mark whether it's been installed. And on the back end, you can also identify your patch panels and the devices that are going into this location. So let's just say we want to create one patch panel 01. We can select a type. Since we're installing Cat 6 using CommScope, we'll say, hey, this is Keystone. This panel takes up 2 U's. And we can add a device like a UPS. Now, if your customer has asset names already assigned to devices for each cabinet, you can enter them in here. Or, if they don't, you can create your own asset name in the field and have your technicians enter it here. And then your technicians can also enter in a serial number for asset tracking to provide to your customer's IT department. They're going to love that you already have that tracking ability. Now, our percentage complete is calculated based on the cable states and also the location check marks installed and terminated. So when your technician is there, they've installed the physical location, they've checked the power, it's installed and active. They've installed the EMT risers if they're required, mark it installed. They're doing the rack and stack, and now they're terminating patch panels. So we can say, okay, I've installed this patch panel. Now I've moved on to termination. I can say it's 50% terminated, or when they're done, they can mark it as 100. And then they've built out they've done the rack and stack, and now they can mark this asset UPS has been installed. Now on the back end, you can also upload your rack elevation drawings here. So for each location, your customer may define a specific rack and stack order. When your technicians open up this details modal here, they can click on View, and then they can do the rack and stack based on the print requirements. So let's go ahead and save this. Alright, so we're at 60% here. Now, we can go ahead and update all of our states here, and we can see that it is now at 100% project completion. We only had one cable in here. Now, if you have a lot of cables, you can upload those cables via Spreadsheet, and that's done through the cable distribution page. So once you've created all the locations that you want, you've ordered your columns in the correct order, you've selected your cable states, you can then click Create LRS. And what this is going to do is create a spreadsheet. If you have multiple locations, it's going to create a multi-sheet spreadsheet. Now each sheet of your spreadsheet is going to be labeled with the location name. The spreadsheet is also going to include all of the columns here that you have. So in this location, we want device, switch port, nodes, and cable color. By default, the spreadsheet is also going to include cable number. So once you've downloaded this spreadsheet, you fill in all of your data, and then you can click Upload LRS. All right. So what I'll do is I'm going to clear this location, and I already have a pre-built LRS, which stands for Line Run Summary. And I'm going to go ahead and upload that here. Now this is going to take a moment because we've got quite a lot of cable numbers in here. Now we are working on the upload speed to be quicker. Right now we are redundantly writing to databases to make sure that no data is lost anywhere if anything was to happen. Alright, so we can see our LRS has imported. Now we have 5 locations here, IDF 0 through IDF 4. Now this is a little bit of a glitch where the locations are not ordered properly. Now we are working on an update for that right now, and very soon in the future that will show in order. So right now we have cable states and we have fields. So let's go ahead and click on default with EMT, and we'll apply those changes. And now we can go back to our line run summary and see that we have EMT installed as a state. Now what we can do is we can select our cable numbers that we want to have EMT installed. Click Options, States Required, click EMT Installed, click Save, and then Exit. And you'll have to do a page refresh. And now we can see the cable numbers that we selected now have EMT installed as a state. That's a bulk way to do it. Or you can go in to edit each cable number and select EMT install. Now, if you want to add project documents, you can do that here in Edit. So your submenu, Edit, select a file type. Let's just say this is project documents. Select a file and then upload. We can also add photos through Edit. We can select our photo type. Keep this out. We'll go back to Edit since that just uploaded. Back to Edit, we'll select our photo type. Let's say post install. We want to add some specific photos. You can do that through here. And then when you're ready to close out your project, you can click post install. Select the compression that you want to compress your images at, and then click export. And that'll export a zip file so that you can easily send it to your customer if that's what they request. Now, for your technicians, they will be primarily operating on the line run summary page and then the view plan page. Now, view plan works very well on cell phones and tablets, just like a computer. And we've spent a lot of time and money making sure your users will have the best experience. I mean, you can zoom in almost infinitely into your prints. Alright, so let's go back. Now, as far as setting up your blueprints, editing them, you can go into Pathfinder. Now, the only users that are going to have access to Pathfinder outside of a specialized role is going to be admins and project managers. So I've got my blueprint here, and this one's been marked up already, but we want to go ahead and add some cable boxes that we can interact with. So let's say we've got some cable numbers here. We can say, okay, 3-118 through 3-119. Now you want to make sure these are in the right location. So right now I have IDF1 selected. These are going to be in IDF3. So make sure you have your location selected, you have your cable numbers, and then the font size is what controls the size of your icon and your cable boxes. So let's click Add Cable. Now we can see, since we already uploaded all of our cable information, that is automatically pulled up. So for this example, we just want to add the boxes. Now, you can build out your line run summary without ever uploading a spreadsheet, as long as you add the locations that you need through cable distribution page. So once you have your cable numbers in and you've got all your information in, click Add to Print. And then once you've clicked the button, you can click on the print. Alright, and we can add those cable numbers there. Now if you want the box smaller, you would just make the pixel size smaller. Alright, so we can add that right there. And man, does that look good. That's really simple. Alright, so let's say we want to add an access point. We can go into the left-hand menu. Now we are working on adding more devices, but currently we have access points and then distribution locations like IDFs and MDFs. So I've got access points selected here. Now what I want to do is clear out my cable numbers, and I want to click the size that I want my access point. I want this really big, so I'm going to select 50. Alright, now on this print we have a cable number here, which is an access point, right? It's SF32 3-204. So if this wasn't already on the print, we could go 3-204, and it's in IDF3. So let's click Add Cable. Now it already has a device name. SF32 is the device name, and then we have cable number. So this device is plugged into 3B-6, and what we want to do is click Add to Print. So now we've clicked the Add to Print button. Now we can click on the blueprint. Alright, so now we have a Wi-Fi icon with an asset ID and a cable number. Alright, now this is really great for building out your blueprints, right? If you have blueprints that are not marked up yet, you can go into Pathfinder and you can locate all of your cables where you want them pulled to. You can add access points, and now when your technicians open up View Plan, they'll have all of this information. So next, what we want to do is click Save. This is something that you have to do. Just come down here to the bottom left, click Save to Job. That'll take a second. Click OK. It'll reload. Alright, we've got our information there. Now let's exit out of here. Alright, so now when your technicians are on site, they're going to be working in the line run summary page, and then primarily in the view plan page. And this is really great because in all actuality they only have to work from view plan. So we can see we've got our cable box here. You can click on the cable box and it'll give you all the details associated with that cable number. Alright, so they can say, okay, this is in the flooring, it's register 49, and it's going to switch port 3A-45. They can also print their cable numbers directly from the blueprints. Right now, the only thing we support is the wrap and the Epson LabelWorks PX400 printer. So we can select our printer and then click Print. We only want one copy. Click Print, and the printer will spit out labels. Now, your technicians can also click on States and then mark whether they've been pulled, dropped, and dressed. Now, as they complete the states, we can see we have different colors assigned to these states. So when they complete them, the box color will automatically change. Now we selected this access point. We can do the same for that as well. We can print a cable number, and we can see the details associated with it. So from a management standpoint, this is highly beneficial to your technicians and also your project managers to see exactly what has been done, where it's been done, and to be able to keep everybody on the same page. Now we can see we updated the states in IDF3, and they're at 1%. We've got yes, yes, and yes. All right, that's very, very good information. Now for testing, when you're getting ready to test a project, we have auto-assign user. This is going to be relabeled to repair technician. So you can select a user here, and that repair technician will get SMS notifications when your testing team changes the status of a test result on a cable. So the tech that's running the cabinet side should probably have an iPad or an Android tablet. And as they're testing, they can go through the list for each one they're testing and click the status. Maybe it needs to be retested, maybe it's passed, maybe it needs to be re-terminated. Now if we select re-terminate, we can say, hey, blue, green, swapped. Click submit, and your repair technician will now get an SMS notification saying, hey, this cable failed. It'll also give them all the information like, hey, cable number 101, low garden, EAS4, and then all the associated information with it. They'll go out, repair it, and directly from their phone via text message, they can punch in the task number, blue-green swap, so the task number 2597, space complete, send it, and then what will happen is this cable number will now have a state of retest, letting your testing team know, hey, we can go back, retest this cable, and finish this zone. This is going to provide your guys with a ton of efficiency, right? I mean, most of the time when you're going to close out a project, testing is usually the last thing that's being done. And if you have, technicians that are new, they're green, they're learning, that are doing the terminations, odds are you're going to have quite a few failures if you don't have inline QC with somebody going back behind them before testing to verify that their work is of high quality. So at the very end of a project, you could spend a lot of time testing and retesting. And from our experience, a lot of companies don't have a good process for testing. And what usually happens is the guy running the remote end of the tester stops, takes a faceplate apart or a biscuit, re-terminates it, has to reassemble it, and then finally retest it. Now that could take anywhere from 5, 10, 15 minutes per jack. And if you have, 20, 30, 40 fails on a project, that adds up to hours of time that you could have been testing. So huge efficiency increase there. Now another thing in testing that we have is you can export your test results to an XML file in Fluke's Linkware PC program. And what you do is once you've exported that XML file, you find the file called index.xml, and we can go in here to our project docs, and I think I've got one that'll work. I don't know, I haven't tested this yet, but it should work. Alright, file is queued successfully in order to process. Please wait some time to reflect changes. Now, this might take some time for it to update. And what it's doing on the back end is it's doing a compare excuse me, of all of the tests that you received on your tester versus all of the cable numbers in CableFi. So you could have duplicate tests, you could have missing tests, you could have failures that you haven't seen, and then you could have new cable numbers that are not in CableFi. And what this does is this will show you a compare. Right? It's not available yet, but it'll show you a compare of what you should have versus what you actually have. Alright, so now what I want to show you is punch lists. You can create a punch list. Now, what we typically see are site leads and foremans, and even project managers, whether you've got on-site guys walking the site daily, they can create a punch list. They can add a description here. They can assign a user, and they can also assign cable numbers. Now, if they have a point of interest that they've taken a picture of, they can select what type of picture it is. So let's say it's something that needs correction. They can upload the photo, and excuse me. They can upload a photo and then create a task and assign a user. Alright, test task 1, and that's been assigned to super user, and I can go into my tasks, and I can see that I have 2 tasks in my task list. Now, project documents can be very important. We've got a document here that we can either download or view. And then if your technicians need to close out a project, they can click Post Install, upload all of their pictures, label them, and then save. Alright, so then on the back end, project managers can download all those photos into a zip file and then send them off to the customer for closeout. We also have expenses in daily reports. So for your daily report, you can have a distribution list under Settings and Reports, and then you'll have a Report Settings button. You can add recipients that you want to have standard across all projects, or you can come in here and you can add specific email addresses to specific projects. Now you can also add the percentage complete in your daily report, and then your site leads or foremans can come in here, select the report date that this is for. They can input all of the hours for everybody on site, so time in, time out, how long their lunch was, and then you'll have your total hours for each technician, and then your foreman or site lead has to approve this time. So this is a second step of verification, for your payroll department, so they know that they have good hours if they all match up. Or your project manager can say, hey, these hours don't match what this technician put in. They can reach out to the technician and say, hey, I've got a time discrepancy here. So what we typically see is your foremans or your site leads can enter in, what they plan to achieve for the day, or what they achieved for the day, any blockers that they encountered, and then what they plan to achieve for tomorrow. So if you have a specific format that you want them to input, just let them know, and then they click Submit, and that will update everybody with a daily report. Now, if we go home and you have technicians that are assigned to a project already, they can clock in and out by going up to the top right hand corner, clicking clock in and out. They can select the day for their clock in and out. They can also work at multiple locations for the day. So maybe they spent 4 hours at one and then maybe 3 hours at another. They have to click this in order to do that, and then they have to select a project. Now that project has to be in progress for them to be able to select it. They submit their clock in time, their clock out time, their break time, and they can also add travel time. And then it gives them, the usual current hours, hours to day, overtime hours, total hours on site, and then total travel time. They can also update and view their time card from there as well. Now, from a project management standpoint, your PMs are probably going to stay in the scheduling page. All right, this is going to show them everything that's going on and what the color code status is. So you've got upcoming, on hold, in progress, finished, tentative, and bidding. So everything on the calendar will show by color code. All right, so then they can go in here and they can click details. They can say, okay, nothing's changed. I don't need to do anything here. All right, and then the next thing they're probably going to spend most of their day in is tech activity. All right, and what this is going to show them is their site leads, check-in and check-out time for the day, and then it'll show them the techs that should be on site. So for this project, it's only one tech. For this project, it's two techs. Now, the 0 here is in red because nobody has clocked in. Now we can click on assign techs and we can see Roosevelt and Bradley here with red check marks. Now when they clock in, this check mark will turn green. If they both clocked in, they both will be green. And then this 0 will turn into a green 2. Now here we can see we've got 0 hours and 0 minutes for the day. And then we have total man hours for the project. You can also set up alert settings for your project manager. So we can select a project manager that was assigned to this project. And then we can say, hey, I want to receive an alert if my site lead has not checked in for 30 minutes, or whatever you select. You can change this to 5 minutes. If they haven't checked in within 30 minutes of the expected check-in time. So when you create a project, you can set the time for clocking in and clocking out. And if they still haven't checked in by the first check-in time, it'll send you either an SMS or an email. And this is a really great feature to have, especially if you have projects that are over the road or of high sensitivity, where you've got a customer that is going to be on site. You need to make sure your guys are there. You need to make sure you know where they are. That's a really great feature for keeping everybody on the same page. Now you can also view all the time cards associated with the technicians on each project. You can run a report for your daily reports. And then for quick access, you can go to View Project. Now for settings, in order to set up a printer, you're going to have the Android app set up on an Android phone. And you're also going to have an Epson LabelWorks PX400 printer. From the app, you can give that printer a name. It's going to be associated with its MAC address. And whenever you select that name, your labels will go to that printer. Now you've got customers and delivery partners. That is where you can send invites via email. Just punch in their email, select invite. And we also have job logs. Now this may take a moment depending on how many jobs you have. And from here you can select current and any previous job that you may have. And it'll show you actions based on user with a date and timestamp. So here you can see that I marked this pulled, dropped, dressed, and terminated 3/29/22 at 9:09 p.m. Now this is a really great way to keep your technicians accountable for things they're doing on the job. So if there's ever an error or an issue, you can always go back to your job log and see who marked that state completed. And what we recommend to our customers is have your technicians independently mark off the work that they completed. So if we go back to our line run summary page for a job, have your technicians mark off what they did independently. Alright, so we can have one technician that did all of this, or we can have one technician that all he did was terminate cable all night or all day long. And then you would have another user or technician that would come in and say, okay, I've pulled these cables, I've dressed them, and I've dropped them. That way you can keep everybody accountable, and you have the logs of who did what and when. Alright, and as they mark these statuses, yes, your project completion will update as well. Now, you can also upload expenses. So let's say you've got a technician or a site lead that needs to run out to Gray Bar because you were shorted product. They can make the purchase. They can define what type of expense. Maybe they needed fuel. Maybe it was materials. They upload the receipt. They say how much the purchase was, and then they give you a business purpose, and then click Submit. And now your finance department can track expenses very easily against a project and by employee. So for technicians, they'll have a menu option here. For admin users, most of everything they're going to select through is through their schedule. But for technicians, they'll have a small list of what jobs they are assigned to. You can also create teams. So maybe you have different units. You can create teams with specific technicians, site leads, assign them a manager, and then you can assign those teams to specific jobs. You can access your reports from the settings menu. So for this, what we want to do, let's say we want to go, let's say October 1st through October 31st. All right. Now we can select an expense report, daily reports, and then man-hour reports. So if you're using the clock in and out feature, this is how you get your timesheets. And we can say all users, all projects. Let's just click apply. Now we can see everybody who worked on every project for that time frame. We did 2,600 hours in that month. Now if you want to do by specific user, you can, and then if you want to do by specific project, you can. Let's click apply, and then we can see everybody that was on that one project, and we can download and view each time card for that given date range. It'll give you a PDF. So when finance is doing their payroll, they can easily run a report, how many hours everybody had on what project. It'll also give you your travel time as well. Now for daily reports, do the same thing. Got all these daily reports in this month. And to view it, you can click View. To download it, click Download. And then if you just want to see the pictures, you can click View. And then for expense reports, same thing. Alright, we've got a bunch of expenses in this month. We've got $20,000 in hotels here, $2,500 in travel, and materials, and then rental cars and fuel. You can take this down to a specific project and do your reporting on that. So that's reporting. Here's the report settings. You can come in here, okay, expenses. I want to send my expenses to a specific email address whenever they're submitted. You can do that. Daily reports, same thing, and man-hour reports as well. So for jobs, whenever you create a job or a project, you go to Projects menu, click Jobs. Everything is in the in progress or upcoming. No, everything is in progress by default. And if you want to see something that's on hold, you have to click on hold, coming. I know this is spelt wrong. We're working on fixing that. I know it bothers some people. Yes, we know incoming or upcoming is spelt wrong. So everything's color-coded, and then your list is dynamic based on what status you select. There is one other feature within CableFi that gets used pretty often, and that is view routes. So once you have created all of your projects, and let's say they're upcoming, you can create a route, give it a name, submit. You can come up here, select the route, and then once you select it, you can click the projects that you want to include in that route, and it'll give you a list. All right. This project is 851 miles to the next project, and it's 13 hours and 5 minutes of driving. This project doesn't have any days on it yet, and then it'll tell you project or days to next project based on the dates that you've selected. Now here you can click on conflict, and that will tell you whether you have technicians scheduled to a job, to another job that you've created during this time frame. So if you have a technician that's scheduled to 2 jobs that are on the same day, on the same time, it'll let you know. This will be red, and it'll give you the ability to reschedule them to a different project. Now that is a brief, well, I shouldn't say brief, but it's almost an hour. That is the overview of getting started with CableFi. Now there are a lot of other tips and tricks that I will follow up in a different tutorial. I'm going to break these down into individual and specific modular steps. So, the next tutorials that are going to come out are going to be, how to add user, how to create a project, how to assign technicians. I'm going to break that down by every step for each tutorial. So this is just a getting started overview. This will get you up to speed and get you actively using CableFi every day. Now, when you schedule a technician to a project, it'll automatically send them a notification to their phone if their phone number is on their user profile. So you won't have to send out any links to your technicians. They'll automatically get them when you assign them to a project. They just need to know their username and their password to log in. When you create users, we do not send email notifications because that does have a tendency of creating a little chaos when you go and you create 20 or 30 user profiles all at once, and your staff are not expecting it, so you'll end up with a bunch of emails and stuff. So we have that off by default, but if it's something that you really want, we can turn that on a user, each use case. So my name's Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of CableFi, and this has been a getting started. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your designated account contact, email support. You can email me, call me directly, and we will walk you through or get any problems that you find resolved. Thanks.